It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcasting a fellow UMKC alumni graduate, Jahn Roedemeier, who graduated in the class of 1979. And I wanted to get Jahn on the show because a lot of my UMKC classmates, Lisa Gonzalez, George Rui, yourself, administering an in-office dental insurance plan. And I think this is very interesting. Jahn's bio is skill and compassion go hand in hand when providing exceptional patient care. As a dental professional, he stays up on the latest advancement in dentistry in order to provide the most current treatment options for his patients. As a doctor, he recognizes that his patients are unique individuals who have placed a great deal of trust in him and his team. That is just one reason he values each and every patient relationship. And Jahn, thank you so much for being on my show today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Howard. Thank you.
Yeah. So you've I've done dentistry 29 years. You've been doing it 37 years. We've seen a lot of changes in this industry, haven't we?
Well, we have seen a lot of changes. And, you know, when I first got started in dentistry, dental insurance was really just becoming available to people. So, you know, we've kind of seen the beginning of dental insurance, and then how dental insurance has kind of taken over the motivating factor for people to move ahead. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm here in Overland Park, Kansas. We have a lot of corporate companies, and we've been very accustomed to people having dental insurance coverage. However, you know, what we're seeing is people are losing their benefits. Recently, I had some very long patients that have been with Southwestern Bell and AT&T, and I don't know, it's been about 6, 7, 8 months ago, they were telling me that they're completely rearranging, I don't know how they can do this, but completely rearranging their benefits package, and that they would be losing their dental insurance. You know, that to someone who has been accustomed to having insurance, which is almost kind of a permission to move ahead with their dental care, you know, now they're like going, so we're losing our dental insurance, and what are we going to do? I started an in-office discounted plan that behaves like insurance with Greg probably about 12 years ago, but I'm finding really using it as a new tool to go, well, you know what? I understand that. I'm hearing that from a lot of my patients, and we have our own insurance-like plan, and so now you can have coverage. When we put together our plan, we really tried to make it look like actually kind of like a Delta individual plan. So we wanted it to look as much like dental insurance as we possibly could, and you know, some of the benefits of custom designing your own plan is that literally everything that I have available in my practice is available through the plan. So there's no cosmetic exclusions. So, you know, it's really great that actually I think that our in-office plan is probably much superior to, say, for instance, a private, an individual plan, say, through Delta or some of the other companies.
So you went to inofficedentalplans.com, owned by Greg Beck, and you started that 12 years ago?
I started with him 12 years ago, yes. Uh-huh.
And like, walk us through that. Like, how much does it cost to set up? What percent of your practice patients utilize this? I mean, is this something that 1% of the patients use? Is it 5%, 10%? Do you have any?
You know, I've gone through several different stages in my practice. Currently, I have about 350 patients on that. Interestingly enough, many of those patients have been with me for a long time, Howard. So the good thing about this is that when people get signed up with this, it is very much like what I would call kind of a loyalty marketing program. And I've had a large practice with 3 hygienists and lots of chairs. And so now I'm in a process of kind of downsizing or right-sizing. My practice base is about 600 or 700 patients, but these are the same 600 or 700 VIP core patients, legacy patients that have been with me for a long time. The people that are on the private plan, actually, I've moved twice, not very far, but it's been humbling and amazing to me how hopefully we keep them happy with our services, and they love the fact that they've got dental like coverage, and so they keep on moving. So a percentage, maybe 20, 30%, 20 per 30% of my practice.
Well, it's interesting because when you and I got out of school, insurance was new. I mean, advertising was new, and it was taboo, and the people jumping on it
Yeah.
were considered, crazy and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
then now it's gone to where um, just every dental office just pretty much spends 3 to 5% of collections on advertising. But the
Hmm.
advertising model, you can see it really doesn't work because these dentists spend 5% on advertising. If a hygienist worked 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, 2,000 hours a year, she could only see 1,000 patients twice a year for 1 hour. And yet they're
Hmm.
getting 25 new patients a month. So then you would come back and say, okay, well, every decade you'd add 4 full-time hygienists. But after 10 years, they still only have one hygienist. 20
Yeah.
years, they only have one hygienist. 30 years. And then they're coming up to you at age 65 in a town of 5,000 asking me, what is the best way to advertise to get new patients? And I'm like, dude, you've gone through every single person in this town twice. So I think the next level of dentistry is what you're a loyalty program. How do you keep customers for life? I mean, these dentists have tried all this advertising to just keep burning and churning through new patients and
Hmm.
Groupon and Yellow Pages and Google ads and Facebook ads. I think the industry is starting to wake up and say, they don't trust the corporations. I mean, the turnover with their dentist. I mean, they're lucky to keep their dentist for a year, let alone their patients for a year. And so I see this affordable dentistry with an in-office dental plans is that, like you called it kind of like a loyalty program.
Well, let me speak to, if I can, a little bit, because I did kind of have a short sojourn of about 3 or 4 years in corporate dentistry, and I it concerns me how corporate dentistry is affecting dentistry, dentists, and patients. And exactly what you were saying is that through the marketing that you see is they create like kind of this revolving door where they got a bunch of people coming in showing up for the cheap exam and the free stuff, and then they never come back for real dentistry. So doesn't it make sense? And especially where I find our private plan is most successful is how many times do we have a patient that comes in, they're in pain, they've got this story about they don't have any insurance, they don't have coverage, or they've lost their coverage, and so for some reason they don't. I don't understand. Well, as you said, dude, you can afford it. You can spend your own money on your health care, but it seems like they need something to kind of prime the pump, and so the best way to apply this is need that a patient has, present to them complete and total care. And generally, in my practice is I try to at least present like a quadrant dentistry, giving a patient a chance to say yes to the best, and let's do it once, and let's do it right, and not have to do it over again. And being able to sign them up on the private plan gives them permission, I think, that they can move ahead and also get really the best of care. So I'm kind of talking around in circles, and I forgot what you had where you were headed there a minute
So,
ago.
so is this plan? Is it more of a discount plan? I mean, how does it actually work? I mean, how's the details of this work?
Well, we have several different categories set up, and again, it's very similar to what dental insurance would be. All of their cleanings, all their exams, all their X-rays are free twice a year. Greg has helped us customize this. You can set this up any way you want to, but we then give them a 40% discount on onlays, crowns, bridges. Laser gum therapy, and then a 20% discount on really some of the other procedures. but you can design this any way you want to. They get $1,250 worth of benefits a year, and so
1250.
1,250, yes.
And then so is this like an automatic credit card system where when they sign up for this, you bill their credit card every month in perpetuity?
Absolutely, and that's what Greg does. Is he consults with the doctor, helps them design and put together their plan. But what Greg really does is he's a billing service, and so I guess this is a great idea, and a person could think, well, I'll just set this up on my own. But believe me, what we need to be doing is dentistry, and we need to be taking care of our patients. And so it's great to have Greg will get a direct draw either from their credit card or out of their checking account, and then he takes a small service fee, and then that revenue comes back to the dental office.
Well, that's how all these gyms that went national, Lifetime, and you see all these chains of gyms because once they get you to join, and you're paying for it every month automatically out of your credit card, the human they know that that's where they go. Lots of people stop using the gym. I think almost everyone quits using it after 8 months, but their credit card can go on monthly billing for forever until they actually take the time to sit down and make that stop. And they probably don't do because they know they need to go back to the gym. They know they need to go back to the dentist. And I think it's amazing. You talk about giving them a 40% discount on some services. That's the average discount of a PPO price. And I find that amazing because when you and I got out of school, average overhead was 50%, and half of that was labor, 25%. Now, average overhead is 65%, labor is 28%. But when you look at the overhead and you say labor is 28%, that's the number that shows up on a statement of income, a P&L, profit and loss. But what number does not show up is the 40% overhead of the PPO adjustment price. I mean, instead of getting $1, they started with 60%. So that's what 82% of the dentists are doing. So you're just doing that in-house. You're getting the monthly billing of the patient's credit card. What is the average billing for an individual versus a mom and dad with 2 kids?
The individual is, and again, you could set this up any way you want to. You have to run the numbers, but $42 for an individual.
42 a month?
42 a month, yes. And 68 for a couple, and then for a family of 3 is 98. And so, as you said, you're going to have people that are going to
basically they're paying $504. An individual at 42 a month is going to pay $504 a year and get $1,250 for the benefit.
Well, and the way I figured it, I've kind of run the numbers that 500 and some odd dollars, if you figured out what their things and their x-rays and their exams would be, in a way what they're doing is it's almost like they're prepaying for that service, okay? So I think some doctors might be concerned, well, am I at risk I'm going to lose money on this? The basic fee is going to cover your continuing care cost. You're going to have a few people that are going to pay and not even show up. But the most important thing is to be able to focus on full and complete care. My fee is not a PPO fee. My 40% discounted fee is my normal fee. So. Which is about a $1,200 crown. So you can see that we can spend their $1,250 pretty quickly, and as we move ahead, if they were a PPO patient, then we would have to settle for, let's say your benefits are gone, now you need another crown, it's going to be another $900 crown. No, it's going to be my regular fee. So I'm very successful in using this $1,250 and this private plan discounted insurance to create a a loyal patient that feels like they're being taken care of, and they're moving ahead with my full fee service and moving past. They're not part of the crown of the year club. How many PPO they can only afford one crown, and so that's what they get. So it's very important, I think, to present to people what their needs are, give them choices, and so my goal really is to use this to what I would call prime the pump and create this welcoming hospitality environment, but to present with them complete care. I had a guy come in the other day that he needed a root canal and 2 crowns, and I think we ended up making about $2,400 on that after the discount, but he had needs on the other side, and then he moved ahead at full fee.
I think so much of this patient loyalty stuff is invented in middle rural conservative America. I mean, Sam Walton pioneered the return policy in Bentonville, Arkansas, whereas you kind of have more of a feeling that the big cities like the LAs and the New York, it's kind of more of a wham bam, thank you ma'am, a hard sell. And I noticed that so many of my UMKC classmates of Class 87 are using this and loving it. Tom Moore, Dennis Myers, Stephanie Carmada, Lisa Gonzalez, Bob Rui, and St. Joe. I mean, I think, again, I'm just really excited about the patient loyalty aspects of it instead of just the mass advertising, which is just like getting on a drug that once you get on that drug, you're going to be addicted to the new patient drug your whole life. And it really doesn't make sense. But it's so psychological. Is look at the billion-dollar players. Costco does this. I mean, Sam's Club does it. Even Amazon has their Amazon Prime. But look at the Costco and Sam's Clubs. It just so intuitively seems crazy that if I wanted to go into Costco or Sam's Clubs and buy a bunch of stuff, that they say, no, well, you can't come in because you got to be a member. Because they know the psychological importance of you committing to being a member and getting a card and giving your credit card information, that once you psychologically, you spend twice as much as the average person that walks in off the street, and you stay twice as long. And that's something that dentistry needs to do. I mean, imagine if every dentist patient spent twice as much money per year and stayed twice as long as a loyal customer. I mean, compare that to advertising on Google Ads and Facebook and direct mail and yellow pages and billboards and radio. I mean, and especially, I mean, it's just such a better long-term solution. And on this dentalinsuranceplans.com, in-office dentalplans.com, you can set up your own fees, own numbers, all monthly. I mean, it's all custom to you. So
it's all custom. So I've been involved helping Greg share this with other dentists, and we have such a tendency to kind of like overanalyze things and overthink it. It's doctor, it's your plan. You get to design it any way you want to. And I've been successful with creating it is a feeling as much like dental insurance. Now, we don't want to call it insurance. It is a discounted plan that many of the benefits that they would get with normal insurance. But don't you think, Howard, I mean, I'm just amazed that I have moved my office twice. My patient base and my private patients have moved each time for several reasons. There is a loyalty, but in addition to that, if they had PPO insurance and there was someone closer that accepted their Delta, they might be tempted to go to that office. But they're coming to me because they know me, they trust our care, and I think there's a real opportunity to create more of a VIP special status of having this card, being a member of the my background's in the food business, and I was in hotel and restaurant management, so I've always kind of felt like an opportunity that we've had in dentistry all along is to create an experience for patients and have a distinctive service and not only be about the care but also the experience. And we find My patients just love this. I mean, I've got several staff members, and that's the important thing is to get the staff on board. And when you see an opportunity to present this to a patient, I mean, I literally had patients. Oh, a couple of months ago, two sisters and their daughter. They all need dental care, and I swear to God, it was humbling and surprising. These people were in tears. Thank you, Dr. Roedemeier, for making this possible. I mean, it really it gave me a chill to have that experience. And so, when you have a staff in an office that thinks about creating an experience and hospitality for your patients and using this as another brick, another tool to give them great service and a great experience. So your opportunity to customize that and then take your own marketing ideas. Multimedia, I'm kind of from that generation. I'm really not very much up on the multimedia, but we have done some things with the heading, No Insurance, No Problem. And actually, Greg had some kind of a senior healthcare publication that for some reason, the patients called my office, and there was some reason that they looked us up, and I think there was something about the marketing that he did. The patients had bad experience at other dental offices, but that's just an opportunity for us because my staff does such a great job of kind of helping them feel comfortable and listening to them and all those things that we've learned through our continuing education and stuff like that. And both the husband and wife signed up. They moved ahead with scaling and roof planing, and now they're making appointments for bridges and going well over their $1,200. So it was an important tool that I needed to plug into that formula of hospitality.
I would move my office. I wouldn't be afraid that the patients would find me if I moved. I'd be afraid that my 4 kids would find me if I moved.
They'll find.
But that's something you made a distinction to say that it's not dental insurance, and I just want to make the clarity that there's no such thing as dental insurance. I mean, dental insurance, when you go to MBA school, is an actuarial risk analysis versus moral hazard. Everybody has fire insurance on their home, but only one guy in your town maybe has his house burned down that year. So you spread the risk around. Everybody has car insurance in case you crash. Everybody pays, but just one guy might crash his car. And but dental, there's no insurance. I mean, if you covered 100 people, 100 people all need a cleaning exam and X-ray. 100 people all need recall. 100 people eat sugar and don't floss their teeth. I mean, so in dentistry, there's never has been or never will be dental insurance from an actuarial risk analysis versus moral hazard. It's just a benefit, and it's a benefit because you're getting it paid for by your employer or what have you. But it's all psychology. It's all a myth in their head, because when you go to countries like India, China, Brazil, the biggest, one of the, I mean, India and China are the two biggest countries in the world. They never even heard of dental insurance. And then when you try to explain it to them, it doesn't even make sense. Or, I mean, in China, you can tell by the way the doctor is listening that his brain hurts. He's like, well, why would your boss or your government? I mean, you're the one drinking Coca-Cola and eating Hershey's chocolate bar and not brushing and flossing. So now you have a cavity. Why would your country or your company pay for that? They think it's actually a really bad idea that you're subsidizing. It'd be like telling your employees, we'll pay for half of your Mountain Dew. Since you work here, as a proud employee of this company, we will pay for half of your Mountain Dew, 75% of your medical marijuana, and 100% on crystal meth and heroin and cocaine. I mean, that would be absurd. So there's a 7.5 billion people on Earth, and dental benefits is only something that 1 billion out of 7.5 billion have even heard of. So it really is. That's what I like about this. It's a psychology program. It's a loyalty program. It smells like Sam's Club and Costco and Amazon Prime, where you're selling the invisible. So I have to trust you. And when I go through the American people, Americans can't be very happy because the dentist always needs new patients 40 years later. But if you ask all your friends, ask every one of your friends, if you took your car in to get an oil change and they came back and said, oh, we did the oil change on the coupon, $29, but you know what? You really need to change your transmission fluids and your brake lines. And 100 out of 100 Americans would stop and think, I don't even believe you. I think you're
Yeah.
just saying that because you want money. If your air conditioner stopped working and you called your AC guy to come to your house and says, sorry, Jan, but I can't fix your air conditioner. You need a whole new one for $8,000. 100 out of 100 Americans first think, I don't even believe you. I don't even trust you. I think my Uncle Eddie could probably fix this with duct tape. But you just want to sell me a new one. So in dentistry, when I go to you, I don't know if I need I don't know what an MO is, an MOD. I don't know anything. I have to trust someone. And I think that the reason long-term customers spend twice as much is because when you're talking to them, they trust you, they believe you. So I just think this is a great idea that many more people should go into. What advice? I want to ask you a question. You live in a town that has a dental school. A lot of the people listening here, they live in a city that doesn't have a dental school. What is it like to be practicing dentistry in the Kansas City metro, where downtown UMKC every year for the last 30 years has been dumping 100 more dentists on top of the existing pile? How does that feel? How does that work? How many of them stay in the metro? How many of them drive 100 miles away?
Well, you're familiar with Kansas City. Kansas City is nice. It's just about the right size. So everyone wants to stay in Kansas City.
No, it's
And
an awesome town.
and I'm out in the burbs. I'm in Johnson County, so we have, there are a lot of dentists. There are a lot of dentists in Johnson County, and I would say that my whole career I've always been looking over my shoulder, where are my next new patients going to come from? So we're always looking for that magic sword, and I'm sure we've all sent out coupons and special offers and this and that and whatever. I think this is a great opportunity to place ourselves in the market where we have something that not everyone else is talking about. So how many discounted bleachings, how many discounted cleanings and exams? You're just like everyone else down the street. So what's it like practicing in Johnson County? It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but it's tough, and you have to be on the top of everything. Everything is pretty upscale, so patients are accustomed to granite and pretty light fixtures and a lot of accoutrements. Although, not only does it need to look good, it needs to act good, and it needs to work well. And so it really comes back to people skills and when I think back of the things that I've done years ago with Bill Dickerson at LVI and Rosenthal and Nash, and that was really kind of my very first experience with getting into bonded dentistry and what I call now crown prevention. And so, I've been doing bonded onlays. When you've been practicing for 30 years, you get the distinction of saying, I have as much experience as anyone out there. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm good. I think I'm pretty good, but I've at least been doing it for a long time to get people in, make them feel comfortable, and then using an intraoral camera. I've got a 50-inch screen in the operatory. Bigger is better, and using a transilluminator and teaching people about the effects of malocclusion and diagnosing the cracks and fractures and trying to get them to move ahead and be proactive is what my practice is all about. And it can be challenging. So creating an environment where the patient is empowered to make decisions and they can see it on the screen. And, isn't it really great when the patient sees something and almost diagnoses it themselves? So getting a new patient that is there for a problem area, but then teaching them what good dentistry is about. And isn't it wonderful when they take a look at a big MOD amalgam that's fractured and say, Doc, don't you think we ought to put an onlay in there? Don't you think it's time for a crown? So you have to be on your toes. You have to be on your toes, and so that is a question. How do you distinguish yourself in an area? There are lots of other dentists. It's a problem. It's a challenge that we have everywhere. But
So you said you had 4 years of corporate dentist experience. So I assume you sold your practice to corporate and tried that. Tell us how you got into corporate.
long story, but I was one of the very first dentists actually out in the burbs, and so then I kind of created my Taj Mahal dream office down in the newer area, and it was a big office. It was built to be a two doctor office. And I was just working my rear end off trying to find the right doctor to bring in there. You know, I'm not in a hurry to get the wrong doctor, trying to get the right doctor in there. And so actually we did very well, but I was just working my butt off trying to cover the overhead of a two doctor experience. And you know, these are things that we all go through in the business of dentistry. And so I had an opportunity to have a young lady join the practice, and she came with one of the large corporate companies. And I loved the idea of that, and I loved her. And that happened. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We had the bad experience, the real estate bust and everything there in 2007 or 2008, wherever that was, and it's kind of like everyone just quit doing any dentistry for about 6 or 7 months, and so there was a necessity to take a look at some other alternatives. I made this choice to do this corporate thing. We loved this lady. After about 6 or 7 months, she got terminal cancer and passed away. And so I was kind of stuck in that for about 3 or 4 years. But that just really was not a good experience, I didn't think, for my patients. I just think we have to be very careful with corporate dentistry is there, but it's very important that the doctors retain control of diagnosing and treatment planning and directing the team. So I would just say that my big challenge with that was that I just didn't feel like I could exercise my ability to be in control and be the doctor. So I needed to separate myself from that.
But let's talk about other other aspects of that. So you're talking about it was 8 years ago. It seems like yesterday. I mean, I'm 54, but it was Lehman Brothers filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy September 15, 2008. It was the largest bankruptcy filing in U.S. history. They were holding $600 billion in assets and filed bankruptcy. And it was that was the same magnitude as the Great Depression. But the Great Depression in 1929, the Federal Reserve was very young. They were only like 10 years old, and they tried to save the U.S. dollar, and that closed down 25% of the banks and left 1 in 4 Americans unemployed from 32 to 36. And the guy that was running the Federal Reserve had a doctorate, a PhD in economics from MIT on the Great Depression. So he was so smart, he realized to just give up the U.S. dollar, and they printed something like $6 trillion worth of currency to keep it all afloat so we wouldn't crash. But the point it makes to you is that when these young dentists get out of school, I mean, okay, that last recession was 8 years ago. Well, if you ask anybody how often is the average recession, the answer is about every 8 years. And it was 8 years ago. And now we just had a complete new change in government. You don't know what they're going to do, what changes in policies or whatever. But the point is, you're saying you built a Taj Mahal and you built a 2-office overhead, and that's leverage with other people's monies. And that can work out to be great, but as you were saying, it can also work out to be not great, especially if you get an external shock like a Lehman's Day September 15, 2008. I mean,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to these young kids who are going out and starting and they got out of school, they're going back to a small town in Arkansas, he's going to build his own practice. What advice would you give them about overhead or, would you rent? Would you buy the land in the building? Would you make it a two doctor? Would you be more concerned about debt and leverage? What are your lessons on all that?
Well, I'm going to go back to the private plan. Certainly, the building a solid patient base that is loyal. I think that's important. You know, my generation, there are a lot of doctors that are looking and going to retire. You know, uh, and you're much more in that loop than I am. But I think the important thing is to find a Dr. Farran, find a Dr. Roedemeier that you feel comfortable with, that has a quality of care that makes sense with you, and start building a partnership. We do need help. We do need help. I think that most dentists coming out of dental school, geez, Howard, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars do they own? You know, so I think that they're being picked off by corporate dentistry. And my advice would be do everything that you can to try to find a doctor that you can have them take you under their wing and grow you into the practice, and at the same time he's creating a purchase for his practice down the road. You know, I do quite a lot of Invisalign. I have a real interest in non-surgical perio, and so, you know, I love dentistry. There may be a time where I don't have the hands to do all of this, but it would be great for me to be able to be involved in my practice in some capacity and have some younger doctor come in and buy the practice from me and still have me be welcome there on an abbreviated basis. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we'll talk about that. You know, in our lifetime, in yours and my lifetime, um, when we got out of school, the biggest consumer brands were already made. I mean, Colgate and Crest and Listerine. But Invisalign was probably, I think it was the largest consumer brand built since we graduated. Would you agree? I mean, can you think of any name in dentistry that more consumers know than the word Invisalign? So, and I'm still surprised at how many people have never done Invisalign. What what
Uh,
what
uh,
what got you into Invisalign, and talk about your experience with Invisalign.
Well, you know, in the beginning, it was a brand new product, and I've been doing Invisalign now for probably 8, 9, 10 years. But first of all, I wasn't really sure that it was going to work, you know, and so you had to kind of go through a maturation process where you felt comfortable with the product. Um, I think that a big mistake that I made early on was I kept trying to market it as Invisalign orthodontics is something you do from a cosmetic standpoint, you know. But it is such an important tool when you start pulling in to the malocclusion. Let's discuss why these teeth are breaking. Let's discuss why we have this wear here. Let's discuss why you're not able to maintain this pocket. So I would say 3, 4 years ago, there was a light bulb that came on for me. It was all about health, just all about health. You know, I have done many, I think, incredible change your life smiles. There was a time when I thought that I was going to be one of the cosmetic dentists in Johnson County. For some reason, I was never really able to pull that off. But I've studied with the best and I've done some of the best. But what I found is when you create health as the goal and really take a look at the whole apparatus of the eating machine, and Invisalign is such an important tool to address what's going on in there. And so that was the big light bulb for me. And you know, I'm fairly successful. In a small practice, I probably do 3 or 4 Invisalign cases a month. I think that's good.
Now, is this something covered on the inofficedentalplans.com?
It is, as a matter of fact, yes.
So what's the street value retail price of Invisalign in Johnson County, and then what is your fee for it in office dental plans, or how much would I pay for it if I just came in cash versus if I had the in office dental plans?
The street price is about $5,700, $6,000, and that's pretty much the price that all general dentists out here in the competition is. So let's just say that you wanted to do Invisalign, and you wanted to sign up on the private plan. And so what I would instantly do then is discount that $5,700 by the $1,250, and that makes sense, you know. I would do Invisalign all day long for $4,000 or whatever that is, you know.
How long does your average Invisalign case take?
12 to 16 months.
12 to 16 is your average?
Yeah, yeah.
And are you doing one change a tray a month?
Well, when they first came out, we're changing the tray every 2 weeks. Now, are you familiar with the Propel technology?
Absolutely.
And so we're doing some Propel, and we're changing the trays once a week. Now, I haven't had the presentation on it, but I believe Invisalign is saying that actually they're recommending cutting the time down even without the Propel to maybe 7 to 10 days. I need to follow up on that.
Tell us your thoughts on Propel.
I've had really great results with it. You know. I just do a little bit of infiltration and you know, make some little dots in the bone interproximally, and we get great results with it.
But, so you believe it works? You're a believer.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Now, what's the other system called that uses vibration?
You know, I am aware of that. I have no experience with that, but it makes sense though, doesn't it? To
right.
Stimulate that bone, and but I think that the whole idea of the Propel is creating an inflammatory response, and for some reason that increases the osteoblastic and osteoclastic movement of the teeth.
Yeah, that vibration. Well, I have so many friends that swear by the vibration. What's the name of that company? I'm feeling.
Yeah, I need to look into that. So you have had good results with that, huh?
Well, no, not Propel. It's the oh my gosh, it's so bad getting old and senile. Excelodent. Yeah, and Excelodent is. You were saying that you wanted to speed up ortho. I mean, obviously, Americans want their orthodontics done in an hour. I mean, no one wants everything. Everybody wants everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost. And we're finally seeing ortho going faster. I mean, orthodontics kind of reminds me of airplanes. You know, I've been flying for 25 years, and the planes are all bigger and better and newer. You know, they're all great and everything, but they still only fly 500 miles an hour. You know, they haven't got any faster. And that's the way I always looked at ortho. You know, it was always more quality, more quality, more quality, but it was still 2 years. And I think now they're finally realizing that there's huge value in trying to get that 2-year ortho time down into 12 into 1 year. Cut the time, and anything you do faster is going to be a better business model. Another thing you and I said, since you and I walked out of UMKC, you know, there were 9 specialties recognized by the ADA. You said that you like doing non-surgical perio. I actually think that the specialty of periodontics changed more than all the other specialties in the last 30 years. I mean, you couldn't say it was pediatric dentistry or oral surgery. I mean, it was, gosh darn, periodontal surgery. When we got out of school, you sent someone to the periodontist, it was 4 quadrants of surgery. And I almost always wanted the patients to do all 4 quads at the same time, because you knew whichever side they did, they'd never go back for the other side. Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, my God. I had men that were stopping me in the Safeway grocery store 4 or 5 years later saying, these teeth are, never saw them again. These teeth are still sensitive to cold and all that. But so now you're into non-surgical perio. How are you doing your non-surgical perio? What are you into?
Go way back to probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago. My first experience really was with Jan Lazarus and Peggy Sprague with JP Consultants from the West Coast. And that was a time when really people didn't know deep cleaning or scaling and root planing was something that just did not compute to people. And so that was really kind of like the beginning of being able to bring to people some type of an alternative that didn't involve periosurgery. And what I learned from that was really several experiences. Then we had perio chip, and we had Acticite, and now we've got Arrestin and all these other site-specific antimicrobials. But learning that we, in a general dental practice, have an opportunity to do not only something to the patient, but do something with the patient and get them involved in a process that's going to get them more healthy. Then going to the next step of having the courage in those beginning stages, having the courage to take on some very deep pockets, 7, 8, 9 millimeter pockets. And I had a period that I worked with Richard Niederman, who was the head of the perio and some school. And we did kind of an interesting deal. Their idea was that they were going to take perio and do a marketing effort. We really were not very successful with that, but working with Dr. Niederman was incredible, and having the courage to take on some very deep pockets and know that we're doing such a great service for these patients. And at that time, Dr. Cobb was the head of the perio department down at UMKC, and so I got involved doing laser perio with the ND YAG, which we got a bunch of bad press in town. But isn't it interesting how those things that seem to be leading edge can kind of become bleeding edge? But now it's just the way we do it in dentistry. So I think we have so much to offer to patients with a non-surgical paradigmal alternative using the things that we have in dentistry today. I'm trying to think, what is the perio trays that we implemented recently? Company out of St. Louis, perio. I'm like brain dead all of a sudden, but.
Right.
They're custom-made trays that we're putting.
What's the name of that company, Ryan? We just have the St. Louis company that makes the perio trays.
Yeah, and we've had very good results. So people will do just about anything to keep from going in and having traditional perio surgery.
Perio Protect.
Perio Protect, yes. Yes.
So you're using that too?
Yes. And have had good results with that. Everything is all about patient compliance. I mean, if the patient isn't going to wear it, then it's not going to do them any good. But I've had some miraculous results with those the Perio Protect trays. So we do the scaling and root planing, do the laser, and then put them in the Perio Protect trays.
So do you use JP Consultings anymore?
Well, I don't use JP Consultants, but I have worked with Inspired Hygiene, Rachel Wall, and they're on the East Coast. And trying to think of what the lady is that used to be with JP. That actually she was here in UMKC.
It's called Inspired Hygiene.
Inspired Hygiene, yes.
I wonder if Jan's still doing that. She started her company the same year you got out of dental school, 1979.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, she's just been a legend forever. I wonder what she's up to these days.
Well, I kind of don't hear anything about them. So it seems to me that maybe some of the people that were with JP have now gone with Inspired Hygiene.
Well, most of the people that started their company in 1979 aren't alive anymore. So maybe she's but so you like this Inspired Hygiene? Tell us about that.
Well, we've gone to several of their lectures, and then they have an online webinar and a workbook, and so we've it's so important to get the whole team on board with that, and then get your hygienist trained. Um, so I would like to do more with them. I would look forward to do more with them. The downside of it is that as a dentist and as a businessman, we make these investments in all this continuing education and training of our staff, and then say if you only have one hygienist that's really top notch with this, your ability to deliver a product is based on that one hygienist. And so actually the lady that started with us with Inspired Hygiene is with us no longer, and we're in the process of training another lady. But yeah, I like Inspired Hygiene and Rachel a lot.
Well, that's amazing. So, any other advice for these young kids?
Well, the perio part is I'm passionate about. The other part that I'm passionate about is trying to get all the mercury silver fillings out of there and put some type of permanent bonded onlay in there before it needs a crown. And that's really not something that's taught in dentistry. You're going to have to go to LVI. You're going to have to go to some continuing education experience to even understand what that's about. But Myron's Dental Lab was one of the very first that brought porcelain onlays really to the dental market probably 25 or 30 years ago, and it was a porcelain product called Chameleon. And now we've got a bunch of wonderful products out there, and the Ivoclar Ultimate material that is with utilizing the nanotechnology, so it has porcelain particles in it, but it also has kind of a composite component. Is something that I just love, and I have wonderful experiences with that. So I would say that the advice I would have is go to some continuing education to learn something that you don't get into dental school, and completely treatment plan people, and give them choices, and be sure that you've got a full menu of choices there that you can provide.
That's why I'm so passionate about these podcasts, because in my 30 years, to me, the one variable that I saw the most that made the successful dentists were the ones that got into like 100 hours of continuing education a year their entire career. Their brain was always fed with so much new information and so much new ideas that they just crushed it. And now these kids are coming out of school. 17% of them have no student loans because their dad was a dentist. And then you got the remaining third is 100,000 in debt, another third's 200,000 in debt, and another third is 300 plus in debt. And I just think that these podcasts where I saw that I could get some of the most amazing dentists on earth to come on my show like you, and we talk, and it's for free, and then we put it on their iTunes and YouTube and Dental Town. I just think the best. I just think we're doing a great thing for these for our homies, our dental colleagues. I mean, we're old enough to where any day now they're either going to put us out to pasture or come hit us over the head with a shovel. And these are the next generation. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show, because I've always known it forever that it just seems like the best American ideas always came from either the poor, the rural, the country, whereas most people think they came from, Hollywood and LA and New York City. And, I want you to come on the show because I think this inofficedentalplans.com is a great thing. A lot of my UMKC people do this, and this is not a paid advertisement. No one pays me to be on the show. I don't pay anybody to be on the show. But Jahn Roedemeier, thank you so much for spending an hour with me today on my show, and I can't wait to get back to Kansas City and see you.
Thank you, Howard. It was fun. We had a good time. I appreciate being on it, and I do think you're making a tremendous contribution to dentistry and the younger dentists that are out there. So,
well, I'm not making a contribution. I'm my guest star, and I got to tell you though, the funniest thing about UMKC is when I moved out to now I'm in Arizona, so I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
But I still always root for the Kansas City Chiefs no matter who they play. And I'm only in absolute turmoil when the Chiefs play the Cardinals. That's when I don't know who my true love is. And it was funny because in dental school I never got to go to a game because I didn't have the money. You know, I was working in Walgreens for $3 an hour. But
Sure.
I love Kansas. I've told everybody in Phoenix that the greatest city in the world would be if they could pick up Kansas City and move it out here in the desert, because Phoenix is a nice city, but it didn't start until they invented the air conditioner. I mean, before 1950, there was just hardly any people there. I mean, it was Indian reservations, it was country, it was rural, you know, a little bit of citrus and cotton and copper. And then they invented the air conditioner, and now the metro is 4 million. But the difference is, in Phoenix, pretty much nothing here is older than 1950. But when
Yeah.
you go to Kansas City, I mean, some of those museums and the culture, I mean, you can just tell. I mean that town was going strong during the Civil War. I mean, it's just such a more older, classy, mature, cultural. I mean, I mean, God, it is just the greatest city in the world. You just don't want to know it exists in February. So you should be visiting me in February, and I should be visiting you in June.
You know, as a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, I will be out in Scottsdale. And what I will tell you is when it's 103 at 10 o'clock at night, I don't want to be in Scottsdale either. So it is the air conditioning that made it all, you know.
What are you doing in Scottsdale?
Well, I've just got a friend. I got a friend that lives out there in Scottsdale. So that whole desert landscape and everything is kind of has been a new experience for me. You know, it's not the Kansas prairie, but you know, the good thing about Kansas, as you well know, if you don't like the weather, just wait and it will change. You know, so.
And also in Kansas, the wind is always blowing. I mean, the wind is always blowing. And in my entire life in Kansas, the wind only stopped blowing one time, and everyone fell down. All right, Jan, thanks for coming on my show, buddy.
All right, sir. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Bye-bye.